So we are three aspiring social workers from Cal State Dominguez Hills. We are discussing the Don't Say Gay bill, which is known by its legal name, the Parental Rights and Education Act within Florida, and how that is impacting populations in Florida and how that can impact communities elsewhere. How would the Don't Say Gay bill have impacted your school experience?
So it's kind of interesting. I was like thinking about like how to answer these questions because I went through like the Catholic school system. So I kind of did have a don't say gay education. So I think about it and I feel like as a kid, because like this bill really affects K through 3. I had gay relatives and gay uncles and aunts and cousins, and I didn't know these things. And when I found out, I was so surprised. I was a kid and it was so foreign and there was in my family. And I think it's just interesting. Like I kind of see it like as this like I already had the don't say gay education type of thing. And it's like it's really sad because I feel like I missed out on my whole family connection because I feel like my family was so closeted and hide these beautiful people in my family. Like I think about it like in school, that was kind of another place to get more information, especially when your families were not so available.
For me, we never talked about it in school, but at home, it was discussed being that we had an openly gay cousin community, a black community. It is a taboo for for black men to be gay or black men to be openly gay. So I feel like in that part of that sector of my life, I didn't miss out on much, but helping a young person to understand what's going on, it was not talked about in education, not at all.
Think like on the other side of it, like would people not be able to, I mean, it's only in public schools, right? So Catholic schools can discuss it, but like even talking about things like negatively, I mean, kids are already exposed to ideas of like, like same-sex relationships, like same-sex identities. I think that like what about like teasing and bullying? Like are they going to actively work against things like that? Because that is also like kind of like mentioning sexuality, right?
One of like kind of back to one of the questions that I asked, it's like, how are they planning on policing this type of policy? Like, like you're saying, like you're correct. Like if you acknowledge the bullyment of the sexuality, then you're acknowledging sexuality at a young age. So how do you police that? They're trying to protect children, and then you go alienate all the other kids. So it's like really interesting. Like how do they plan to like follow up kids? Like are they going to record the classrooms or the kids on the playground and monitor their conversations? Like yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, they even try to do that with like other things. Like, you can't police everything that kids do. You can try to like
Hmm.
control it, but kids are gonna
Hmm.
find a way to like do the things that you don't want them to do. It's a reality that like kids like may bring substances to school. Kids like may have like other inappropriate discussions, right? So it's like, how does it get prioritized even when it's getting
Yeah.
policed, right? Like is that really like high on your list of things that you don't want on your campus, like when there's other issues that are already like present, like and that's the reality, like as sad as that is, that much of this shouldn't be happening.
Hmm.
That's the reality.
And to bring that and to like follow up with that, I feel like a lot of these policies are here to conform individuals and not let individuals express their identity. People have to understand at that age, kids are they are being molded everywhere they go. Everywhere they look, they're being molded. They're sponges. They soak in everything. So
It they're gonna repeat that, and it's like interesting. I don't have any children, but my sister has a daughter, and her daughter wanted an Iron Man doll, and they were at the Disney store, and like a little girl her age, and my niece is 5. She's like, oh look, she's a boy because she had the Iron Man doll. And it's interesting how kids like at 5 are still like they're like they already know. They're already like policing themselves and putting each other in categories. So it's
mhm.
like we implement these policies, these kids are this is what they're looking at, this is what they're absorbing.
Where do we draw the line on parent involvement in education? Our systems have already set up certain things where certain things aren't allowed, right? Like, so child abuse, not allowed, neglect, not allowed. Like, we as a society have accepted those things, right? So if parents say they don't want them to be learning about LGBT things, that could be harmful for the child if they are LGBT, right? Like, that could cause them to develop depression, develop anxiety. What limits can we place on parent involvement, right?
But I feel like if I was a parent, like and if I was putting my kid in a school, like I'm gonna be putting trust in that institution that they'll be teaching my kid, you know,
Mhm.
common
Mhm.
good wealth things factual things. One thing that I do know is that I would want my kid to feel safe in school no matter what. Sometimes my teachers were the people that I felt safe with. And sometimes those are the folks that I shared things more than I did with my parents. Really great role models. And I feel like um I would want my kid to feel safe in school, and I wouldn't want like teachers to feel afraid to provide that comfort or those like, you know, be able to affirm kids in their identity. People have this idea that talking about sexuality is like perversion, like that it's putting things in these kids' mind. The reality is that these kids know already. They see it everywhere.
Yes, they do.
So
Yes, they
I
do.
I
Everywhere.
feel like the school is the safe place where they could get factual information, correct information, because that's what they're supposed to be doing, hopefully, if they're those good people, right? So I feel like I'd rather have my kid learn, or if they have questions about sexuality, I'd rather have them hear that information from like a educator. For me, I feel like punishing teachers from being able to do those type of things, it's gonna affect these kids in such a harmful way. I mean, especially when we think about like the suicide rates and a lot of these young LGBTQ youth who are babies and are killing themselves. Like
I agree.
if we put these policies, like those kids are gonna feel alone and scared because obviously if they're feeling afraid at school, they're way afraid at home.
Yeah, I think that that's really powerful what you said. I think that um yeah, like I think if you do teach people about like how to handle these things, how to like acknowledge these differences, people would be more accepting. In high school, like people were really ruthless to like the other gay students. I was closeted at the time, but to the other gay students, people would like, you know, behind their backs be talking about them like and saying really mean stuff. And but at the same time, there was like the GSA, which was like the Gay Straight Alliance, which was run by a teacher, which made me feel like, okay, like there's progress happening. There's like people who are actively like protecting these kids. I know that sometimes in the classroom when someone would say like, hey, like that's gay, a teacher would be like, no, you can't say that. And this is why you can't say that. And even like small things like that went a long way with me because I was like, oh, like it seems like things are just like changing. Like people just don't let that slide anymore. And then fast forward to my little brother graduating from high school, he said that when he went to prom, the person who won, I guess, well, king and queen, but like I guess king and king, it was a gay couple that won.
Wow.
And I was like that, and we went to the same high school, so I was just like, wow, that is like progress. Like I graduated in 2012 from high school and he graduated 2018, I want to say 2017. So like in 5 years, just like that amount of like change. And yeah, I think young people are equipped to like have those conversations and to like understand these things because like we said, this is all learned behavior, right? Like everyone learns these things. Like, oh, if we just socialize people to accept things, it
Mhm.
wouldn't be that big of a deal. And yeah, I think it brings me to like the examples of like, you know, child abuse and stuff like that. There's some parents who are like very anti-LGBT, and like if they have a child who's like gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender, like that may cause them to be like abusive towards the kids, and like maybe the kid feels safer in school, and like maybe the school like provides that safe space for them. And I think that this bill takes that away from some people. So what does this mean for school social workers in Florida? So as your
You
y'all's
can't
y'all's
be
thoughts on that?
effective. You can't even do your job. You can't do your job. You can't do your job effectively. Period. Because at the end of the day, now you're going against, I guess, the law, or you're going against, you know, code of conduct, however they want to put it out there in Florida. But you can't do your job effectively. I rather save a child or than let somebody bully them and or commit suicide, especially at so young because they have so much life ahead of them. Because you are going through something and now we can't talk about it. As social workers, and that's why we're here. I feel like we're really like we're the heroes of the human population. You know, we come, we save them, and then we take them on their way. Honestly, we're really here to save these kids' lives and to let them know that, honey, or whatever that, you know, the approach is, you're gonna be okay. And this is who you are, and you can't fix it. You can't hurt yourself and die and come back. This is who you are. You
Yeah.
know, accept it. Let's move on, and let's figure out ways that you could, you know, be a part of this world, but also have your own identity.
Of course.
Yeah.
So it's just hard. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to do it. I personally wouldn't be able to do it because I am pro choice, and I'm so pro just being you the best way you can be. You know, I don't want you to feel that way because you feel like, you know, you were born different, and however the individual feel, they need to be actively living their life the best way they want to know how, even if they are K through third grade. You know, kids nowadays know who they are. I don't care nobody say. Kids
Yes.
know. Kids know.
Kids know who
Kids
they
know
are.
early.
Completely
Kids
right.
know. They not people. Are they kids? Nah,
Yeah.
kids know.
No,
I
for
love that.
yeah, kids.
Mhm.
No, that's beautiful because it's like
Facts.
we put so much
Done.
these
Like
people don't know that they don't know who they are. I say like I completely agree with Tianjin. Like how how are social workers supposed to do their job if like our thing is
yeah.
to like what are we supposed to like ignore the kid and be like you're not yeah I can't talk about that
Yeah.
like you know what I
Yeah.
mean but you know I always think about like how like you know people are going to try to do their jobs the best of their ability and you know take the risks that they take and take their stances and I feel a lot of social workers will do that. I hope they do. It's a lot of risk but I feel like they're going to be I hope there's going to be ways that if you know I mean this bill did pass that there's going to be ways that they could you know go around these you know rules but I think it's just going to be it's going to make it very hard to be it's going to be very hard to reach these kids who are feeling like that.
I think
Yeah.
on that note though, like even if you do take out like social media, even if you do take out everything, like these communities find a way to like exist. Like LGBT people
Yeah.
have been around like
Ever.
forever, like since the beginning of time.
Yes.
It's like nothing new. Like they're just we're just more exposed to them because now they're in our media and like we feel like we see more of them, right? But they've been around since like ancient history and we're like be able to have like some form of community because I mean humans are social creatures and you kind of tend to like flock to people who have like similar mindsets, similar attitudes, who like allow you to be yourself
Yeah.
in a way. So
Like it just I think it's all about giving people dignity. Like you have the dignity to do it in the light, not in the shadows. Like I just feel like these legislations all they're doing is you're putting people back in a day, you know, where they have to sneak around and do it wrong and it's just like you know, people have done it before. Yes, they're going to keep doing it again, but it's just like where just provide people the ability to thrive and have that dignity.
because the school is the place for students to have an adult who cares about them, as or an adult who kind of like provides safety, right? I think that's the best place. That's where kids spend most of their days. That would be the most ideal place.
Yeah.
And just to, add on, people always try to make it seem like it's the end, but it's only the beginning for people to keep evolving, for these kids to keep evolving, for us as a community. Now I'm talking about all of us to keep evolving and finding ways to navigate our way through life to, find these loopholes to keep educating our young kids and keep educating ourselves so we could have less suicide rates and more kids living and changing this world because at the end of the day, the most important thing are our kids because our kids are the future.
Yes.